Hi, welcome back to Tutor Tuesdays. Today we're going to talk about light and shadow, which we will most certainly cover a character with light and shadow, but first I want to talk about generally where it hits the object and whatnot. Before I get into that, I made a new avatar that goes on my overlay for those of you watching the videos and stuff, so hopefully that'll make it a little bit more entertaining. This is just for the Tutor screens. My stock stona will remain for my Twitch streams. Yeah, let's get started with light and shadow. Starting with a circle is probably the easiest, but basically when you're thinking about light, you're kind of thinking about what direction the light is coming from. And I do a quick line right there to kind of give that circle as a quick means to, well, some foundation really. Most people do light kind of coming from kind of slightly above and to the right, which makes absolutely sense. So when you get light coming from the top here, you'll have your shadows coming down here. Alternatively, when you have light coming from the opposite way, the shadow is still going to be the opposite direction from the light. Alternatively, when you have the light coming from straight down, the shadow is going to come underneath. And you'll notice that I kind of have a center point here where the light is kind of the darkness, like not necessarily straight. Like if you want something to appear round, you don't want the darkest part to be right at the edge here. But realistically speaking, if the light were coming from above, it would also be coming kind of slightly, kind of more pointed towards us, which I guess I can't really do in a 2D drawing. But yeah, the light would be coming downwards from above. And if the light is coming from below, you'll have the opposite effect with the light showing down below here. And honestly, whatever direction the light is coming, your shadow is going to be on the opposite side of that, if you kind of get my drift. The intensity of the shadow depends on how close the light is to. Like, if, let's say the light is right next to the lower thing, then the shadow beneath it is going to be much more bigger and intense. Whereas, because I have more room up here, if the light is from way far in the distance, you'll probably get a smaller shadow on the opposite side. And where that affects faces is where I'll come in next. If I want to make this look more like an adult, I might want to add a little bit of a chin here. We have the line. The double lines here are also good for reading where the bridge of the nose might be, which will be important when you're doing light here. And then I'll just do some really quick little ellipse. And maybe erase the bottom of the circle here so it's less intense. Give this person a bit of a chin. And a little bit of a nostril. And pupils. The dark of the eye. And then I will do an eyebrow, just so you can see the shape of the brow may lie in the case of a shadow. And really quickly I'll add ears here. Hey, this person is really funny looking. Apologies if you resemble this person. I sincerely doubt you do. So there should be a little bit of space in between the lips and the chin, so I'll make that a little better. Oh geez, I'm doing clear again. Okay. And then maybe I'll add a little bit of a nostril, just because we're drawing a human. And get a brow shape in there. I don't think I will bother with hair this time around, because the hair is not the important part. No. Stop it. Control U. And I darken the lines any. When you're coming in with shadow, normal face, not coming in with shadow doesn't matter as much. When you're thinking about where the light's coming, oh, you know what? I think I made this nose way too high. Let me bring that down a little. At least the lower part of the nose. Could be higher on a human being, but... So firstly, I'll just do a lighting from down below. So if the light isn't too intense and the light is coming from a little further away down here, you'll most likely get light coming around the surfaces. Sticking out from the top of the head will also cast shadows. So like right underneath the lips will probably be in shadow. The top of the nose won't be, but everything beneath it will. You'll probably get shadows right above the eyes. And you can like take a lamp from your home and just look at your own face in the mirror and see how lights and shadows fall. But this is typical of a face that's in shadow. The intensity of the shadow also can add mood to your picture. Another thing to keep in mind, of course, if the light were to be like right underneath it, like if somebody is holding a flashlight under their chin for a scary story or something like that, suddenly all the shades get a lot more intense. Like you might not even see a lot of the upper face. And it'll just follow the shapes around your head. And the things furthest away are going to be darkest. And whereas if you have the light coming in directly from the side, like maybe car lights that are shining at your character's face, for an example, the light intensity will probably come off of the sides of the face that are, once again, furthest away coming in from the light. Like you might still get some shades. Faces are facing away from the light because forms naturally create shadows. Just think about following the forms. Like right now I'm kind of following the cheek shape here, which I didn't really draw as an under thing, but just keep in mind that it is there. And then the nose will be a little bit projected on this side of the face, so that's why we're getting a shadow here. Over a little bit on the lower lip too, with a slight shadow thing around the side of the face. Once again, the darkest parts of the shadows are the ones that are kind of being blocked away from the light. But there's still a lot of light that isn't covering the face, if it's not an intense light coming in. This is like sunset lightning. We can have the light coming from the opposite direction be pretty much the same thing, because it's still a human face. There might be some not exactly symmetrical features on an actual person, but on a drawing from a character you made up, you're probably going to make them symmetrical to make them look attractive. Unless you're purposely trying to make them not look attractive, in which case, then by all means go crazy. The idea about intensity. So I'm going to show you a light that's more common, which is more so coming from above slightly. Like you'll see that much more commonly on characters as you're drawing them, because it's probably one of the more easiest lights to do, and it's kind of sunshine light, almost. Following around the chin, and you'll want to keep in mind the kind of jowl shapes that are around here and here. Actually, really quickly. No, I didn't draw on that. Okay. But yeah, there's lots of circles and stuff on a human being's face that you might not think about so much from the musculature. But they exist. And looking at anatomy books can help with you figuring out where those things are. But yeah, you get more lines straight down the nose. Round face. Back up. Sorry, I think I was looking at a slightly different reference than what I was thinking of. Now, these circles are often where you'll find more lines if you're aging the character up a lot. They'll follow the shape of the face, like I mentioned briefly when I was talking about line drawings. Okay. And where are the inside of the ears? Okay. I'm referencing some pages I got from my college thing from the Art of Comic Book Inking. Really handy page things, but sometimes I have trouble deciphering where the light's coming from without thinking about it too much. I think that was the one I was doing was actually a double light source. But I do want to kind of make up one coming from this direction, because I feel like that one is one that I personally do a lot of. I don't know if other people do, but like I was mentioning before, you want to follow around the forms. Think about things that might be projecting the light, like your nose will probably be projecting some of it. The very tip of the nose will probably be in light. this side of the face will likely have darkness right around it. And the lower lip will probably get a little bit of darkness too. And the shapes that I'm adding to this side of the face where the light's coming from are purely to mark boundaries on the face of where eye objects might be. They wouldn't show up too much on an actual face. Or, forget what I'm saying. I don't know where I was going with that. Once again, my mind went woo as I was drawing. So yeah, if the light is coming from slightly above, you'll probably get more from there. A little bit more in face here. As it gets darker, of course, with the more light intensity, you'll get even more dark over here. Now, let's say you have two light sources. It can definitely differ depending on lighting the light, but let's say there's like a little bit of sunshine from the sun, but you also have a slightly lower reading lamp that you're getting some light from because it's a little dark outside. If you have two light sources, and that means that the center will be more so coming down straight down the face, or slightly diagonal if the light is coming from a diagonal direction. We could say the lower light here is a little bit more intense, so we'll get darker shadows from this side, whereas the light from the sun, which might be outside if you're inside looking with a reading lamp, will probably be a lot lighter. And the darkest spots will be right down the center of the face because you're getting the light from both directions. But don't forget about the forms underneath as you're making the light. It's coming down. I don't know if I'm doing a too good a job at this. Kind of going off the rails from my reference here. But maybe you get the idea. It still comes across as kind of creepy though, right? Alright, I think enough for those. Let me clean up this face drawing a little bit. Now you remember how I said that people aren't usually symmetrical and you could just duplicate the face to make them look more symmetrical. That's what I'm gonna do right here. Just lasso tooling the things I want. And then Control T and transform, keep original image, push that in a little. There, that's a reasonable looking person. Sort of. Alright. I feel like my line work on computers is always not as neat as it is on a pencil and paper. And I don't have a setup for pencil and paper, so. Shift drag. Okay, so next I'm going to talk about color. Which for this purpose I'm just going to give this person a random color shade. The first thing I can draw. Now, colors can kind of work like a color wheel. When you're using colors, you want to think about light and shadow of possibly using the color wheel for what colors you're going to be making for your shadows and lights. So when you're making shadows in color, it's a good idea to think about whether the light is warm or cool, because the opposite will be the shadow. So like if you have an orangey warm light, you'll probably get a cool dark blue shadow, which is on the opposite of the color wheel. So for example, when I come in with this person and their face, or maybe paint and apply is good. So let's say we have that orangey light that I was showing you about before. So everything that's in light, and we'll do the light coming from the side. So everything that's in the light should have a mixture of this. You know what I'm gonna do? Transparent, watercolor, just so the color itself kind of fades into the base color here. So you get a warm light, you get the most strongest points will be that orangey color here. And you can come in and blend it more so with your skin tones later. But this is just good for layering the base image for your purposes. And usually most of the extreme points will have this light coming in. Oh, I just did shadow. Watch your reference, Kelsey. Keep in mind when you're doing a person, the colors, it shouldn't entirely take over the skin tone. They'll only be like a nuance kind of thing. So I think that's mostly for the main highlights here. So now I'll come in with the darkest point on the color wheel for my shadows, which you have opposite side of your face, cool shadows for warm light, which the color wheel will help you with, because most commonly it'll be the color wheel that decides the shadow and light. I'll do a better example. I'll reduce the opacity down here, and it doesn't look like I'm just painting blue on a person's face. You're getting more of a straight out, it looks more realistic, right? And I can go even further by choosing the even higher highlights and just, or even go even brighter and pop those on the highest, brightest points on the body and go even darker with the shadow. Still in that same vein, but the darkest points come out a little bit more dramatically. Some of it might even come over the eye, just not as obvious. I don't think I'm going to save this. So let me pull out our good old friend LC. Earlier, I shaded her with color, like I should, but I think what I'm going to come in with the black and white one. And instead of going black and white, I'll pull out the color wheel again, and then fill the shadows I already made with colors from the color wheel. So, for example, I think I will do the yellowish green light to the pink shadow. And I'll really quickly bring up the opacity so it's a little bit more obvious what I'm doing here. Now this is kind of like the color shading that I was doing earlier. But in this case, I'm thinking more so about the color of the light that's coming through. These lines are definitely not the neatest, but I'll try to be quicker about this. There's one. Also, the upside about thinking about the color is that it's making these boots look a whole lot less rubbery, I think. No, actually, they're still the same. They still look rubbery. Okay, and then I will go in with shadows. That one is, despite being the darkest on this wheel, way too bright, so I'll go even darker here. Now this, you'll notice this doesn't look quite right with just the color here. That's why at the end I'll reduce the opacity I'm filling in with colors. Because I'm not doing a more softer coloring here, I'm doing more of a flat line work type color. I'm going to save just the safe side. Getting the rest of these shadows. was very thorough. So, when I come in and I reduce the opacity, it comes off as a kind of strange lighting thing, but you get the idea, right? You can kind of tell that the lighting is strange here, but it doesn't look too different from the color shading. Or maybe it adds another dimension to the color shading. Now really quickly, I think I'll do a more painterly effect on just her face. And I'll use yellow light and purple shadow. So if I were doing this as a more painterly approach, which I will now, I will treat the light like it's coming from above, this way. Usually it's best when I'm doing that to start with the shadows. Get some shapes in there. Some shapes in here. And since Little Coyote has a big snoz, the shadow from her snoz should be coming all this way. I'm not going to go much longer than her shoulders, because that'll take me forever. But first I'm just getting the major shapes in, the darkest parts. Be more gentle as the shadows are getting a little bit closer to the light. No, they're not as strong coming further away. The bit of bang here is going to cast a little bit on her face too, but not too much. There might still be just a slight bit of shadow where this bit of hair covers, but it won't be as pronounced. Get a little bit down on her hair here. Shoulder on this side. Some of the shadow from her head is going to cast down. Now since I'm taking a painterly approach to this, I can choose the next color brighter and kind of brush that color in to my shadows a little. Once again, gentler where the light's coming from. As I'm layering paint, it'll almost be like a side thing. But these are shadows, so I'm not going to go full dark in them. I think because I was already using kind of a lighter brush, the darkest shadows aren't coming through as well. So I'm going to do a dense watercolor and pop them back in again. Ooh, that was really dense. Gonna come in with a blending brush next. Oh, the intensity. Darkest inside of her ear, probably. And then come in with that brighter shadow again. Giving it a more 3D shape as it's getting further closer to the light and further away from the darkest colors. And maybe a slightly lighter purple. brush. See if that makes these seem a little less sharper. It can be kind of fun to play with colors sometimes. Okay. I don't know if I'm ready for the highlights yet. Alright, I'm using the clear brush to get a little bit softness around the edges here. So it's not so intense when I pop in with the highlights. But in some cases, yeah, this adds the realism a little when you're putting in a bit of color into your lighting. Okay, so now let's come in with the yellow again, and I'll start with the brightest bits. Hitting right where most of the light's going to hit. Oh, this is a very warm light, cool color combo here. Try to get the only pop up in areas most commonly affected, and come in with an emphasizing texture brush. I was doing purple again. 1C to get to the clear brush. There we go. That's better. Now I'll come in with a slightly darker part of the yellow and go back to empathizing texture again and add a little bit more dimension to my highlights, which I actually don't want to go into the ear too much because that's going to be slightly darker because it's inside something. Color her highlights a little bit with the yellow color, even though it doesn't show up over the inks. Just putting that light over the color part should be enough. And like I mentioned earlier, when you're coming in with highlights, they shouldn't be too obvious. There's definitely going to be a whole lot less light than shadow usually, unless the light is really, really intense. And then I come in with the opacity. I bring it down so you can see the color more obviously underneath it. That is a little uneven, so I'm going to fix that. And that's a little too close, so I'm going to erase some of that. But yeah, these shapes seem much more rounder now, right? Maybe a little bit of a darker or less intense shadow over here. Not shadow, highlight. Just the closer it is to the light source, the brighter it's going to be. And yeah, bring that down again. Not too dark so you can't see the textures, but just light enough. So yeah, if there's Not any questions in the chat. I'll go check. Nope. I think this is a good place to stop then. We add a little bit of highlight in her. Nope, that didn't turn out looking like highlight. The teeth can gleam a little bit, right? Nope, that didn't turn out looking like highlight too. There must be some shadow underneath there. Yeah, there we go. It's hard because when this is already white, adding a little bit of the warmth is gonna just yellow it or not make it look like it's beaming or anything. But I guess when you pull out, it's okay. So like I said, I'm not gonna do the whole body. But I think this is good. And I will color in that highlight. There we go. I hope you enjoyed your time today, that I wasn't too chatty. Yeah, that's good. Or too quiet, I guess, is better. This is good. I definitely went quiet for a couple of moments there, but I was drawing. Okay, have a delightfully awkward day.